want to let you know, Betty. We are live, gentlemen. We are live. Betty, yesterday we did the Q&A live, and she was like, "Where's Jason?" I was like,
Yeah, I had a last
"Yeah,
I had a last minute change, and I apologize about that. But
oh no, no
I do
worries."
appreciate the flexibility, and I'm sorry I missed it. I mean, Becky is so much fun. I'm not gonna lie, she's a blast.
Yeah, she is so fun. We had a great time yesterday. It was great, but today
Yeah.
we're gonna have an even better time because we have an amazing guest. I have the privilege of being in a power up Zoom with this gentleman, Mr. Dennis. How you doing, sir?
I'm having an awesome day, although the weather is kind of rough here on the East Coast. We got the hurricane coming up. Hopefully, it gets through without any issues.
Right, right, right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, today we're going to be having a wonderful back and forth with Jason and Dennis. And as always, Jason is a wonderful host who does the most. And I'm trying to catch up. Oh my God, I got to start someday. But yes, Pace was just here in Arizona for a few days, going over all the ins and outs of all these amazing new epiphanies that he's having for us to do as a company to grow the brand, to add more value to the community. And I'm really excited about that. Right now, he's back in Montana strategizing. I don't know when the man sleeps, but he does somehow. But there's a lot going on. So, what I'm going to do is moderate and be in the back. Gentlemen, please have a fantastic time.
Appreciate you. Awesome, thank you, Dennis. So great to meet you. A little bit about myself, real quick, for everybody watching. My name is Jason Bates. I am a Sub 2 and Gator student, as well as a top tier certified TC. I am the CEO and co-founder of Venture Vibes Fund, where we raise private capital for buying RV parks and other kind of vacation type real estate. And then I'm also part owner of Finish Line TC Services. But you guys didn't come here to see me; you came here to see Dennis. Dennis, I'd love you to just really quickly tell us a little bit about yourself and what you were doing before you got in real estate and before you got into Sub 2.
Yeah, so my journey really started in real estate when I was still in high school. So I really wasn't doing much besides high school before I got into real estate. I was with my mom. She was a broker here in New Jersey and basically helped her out with open houses. Started being a regular agent
Oh, nice.
in 99, was official license in 99, and transitioned into 2003 into being what we call today investor friendly agent. Actually, I was doing floor time, and all of a sudden I got people walking in and they're like, "We're looking to buy properties, want to buy for cash," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I've never done none of that," but there was nobody there, and I kind of became the go-to guy. So transition into being investor friendly agent. We built up several neighborhoods in Trenton, up and down Martin Luther King Boulevard, as well as Asbury Park and some of the other areas of the county. And then I moved out of the real estate space right before the crash. A lot of people asked me if I predicted the crash. I did not, but I did.
That's been
I
awesome.
did get out of it briefly before the crash happened. So I think I got out of real estate in 2007, but my passion was still there, and I still was quasi involved, but it was more of learning. And I started learning of Clever Investor from Cody Sperber. And I was actually a founder of their stuff, their products. I was actually the initial person when they launched their community around 2012. I essentially was the one that invested in their products and services. And I really, during that time, spent a lot of time learning. And Pace talks about this. You got to jump in the pool at some point, but I was building different businesses outside of real estate, and I really just was learning and learning and learning wholesaling, how to fix and flip. And my real opportunity came through in 2020. That's when I said, where a lot of people said, like, it's either now or never. And that's when I got into real estate investing. And in 2021, January, I joined Sub 2.
Nice, very cool. That's an amazing journey. So so you made this transition. You got into Sub 2. So what drove you to join Sub 2? What was the catalyst for that?
Yeah, so I was employing several VAs that were calling in our area, and they were not able to put deals together because we're getting outbid. We're in a very competitive market,
Oh, gotcha.
and I was browsing on the internet one night and saw this guy doing a podcast with Brett Daniels and Pace Morby. And Pace Morby was actually talking about his birthday, how he got recently married and stuff like that. And I was like, interesting, like we're within similar age. And I was like, okay, well, he is doing something completely different where we are not doing, because whenever we get on the phone with a seller, we're trying to get him at 50% of the ARV, 60% of the ARV, because we need to make our numbers, right? So I was like, okay, there's got to be a different way. And Pace Morby's community at that time was forming. He's launched it in 2020, but I got into 2021, so like the second wave, and started really understanding and learning creative financing. Even though that I haven't been exposed to it at the commercial level, I never really understood it at the residential level. And by really getting deep, I started to get a lot more successful with my acquisitions.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that once you got this down in the residential real estate space, you could easily transfer this to the commercial space.
Yeah. We had a property under contract that, and this is a lot of times what people say to me, like, oh, I'm going to go pitch a creative. And I'm like, you usually need to have creative be kind of like your tool in your toolbox and be that last piece, right? So many people go out there and they're trying to pitch sellers. Pace has really moved the conversation about creative. I think it's a lot more noticeable now, but still there's a lot of people that don't know what that is, right? And it's very difficult to have that mindset shift. And if it's not something that's on television that they see, they think it's a scam. So when people try to pitch it to them, they naturally think it's a scam. And the reality is, we all know it's not.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a cash deal, they know that that's something that is not a scam and that constantly happens, right? So you always want to start out with the cash offer. And essentially, you kind of get to a point where it doesn't make sense for you as an investor to have a cash offer. And before walking away, you're like, well, let's try something creative. And that's the piece that I was missing before joining Sub2. And that really got me into not just residential deals. We did that with the multifamily as well.
Yeah, and you make a great point. I've been very successful in multifamily, not because I pitch creative, because I pitch everything else before creative. I'll go in and say, look, I'm happy to get a loan, but we're solving the math problem here, people, and it's not, the math isn't working. The bank's saying, no, this is all they can give you. So, how can we solve this problem? And 9.5 times out of 10, we come back to a creative solution because we've checked every box and said, I can't give you what you're asking based on these numbers. So,
yeah, when it comes to that negotiating, you always want to make sure that you identify a pain point from the seller. And a lot of times it's what Pace calls finding the bunnies, right? And that's very important, because if somebody's going to sell you to you on the creative, you have to sort of get into their shoes and identify what they really need, right? A lot of times people are not going with creative because they just don't understand how it's going to solve their problem. So if it's a pre-foreclosure, for example, you got to catch them up on their arrears, which means that they already have 50 to 100,000 that they owe the bank. And then essentially they're not still going to be able to pay their mortgage, but they're not going to go into pre-foreclosure, and they're not going to get credit history of 7 years of bad history. They're going to be able to move on with their life. And in less than, it's debt to income ratio, but there are in some cases where in less than 2 years they can obtain a new property. You know, and it's done every day. So it's really having an understanding about what is the need of the seller. And we're like doctors, right? To some extent, like we come in, we try to dissect, and we try to solve a problem.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And here's why that's so powerful, is because we're literally solving people's problems. So that's huge. So how did you find this deal? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Which specific deal?
The deal that we're talking about today.
So this deal came to me from a wholesaler inside the Sub2 community. I'm very big on networking, telling everybody what I'm doing. Even if you have a full-time job, but you're looking to transition into real estate and make that a full-time business or a full-time venture, you want to tell everyone that you know and around you what you're doing or what you're inspiring to do. So by me constantly putting that out there and saying things such as like, hey, I went and built a very strong cash buyer list of investors that will buy the property. They are fix and flippers, so sometimes they will only need hard money loans. Who needs my service? Hey, I am someone that can help with EMD. If you're a wholesaler, who needs that service? So this deal came to me from a wholesaler.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about the deal. Break it down for us.
Yeah. So the deal was actually in South Jersey. The situation with the property was that the wholesaler could not dispo it, so he obviously had to come to somebody like me. Plus, there was other problems that had to be solved. So the first problem was it was a tired landlord situation. It was a tenant that was living there. I believe it was over 2 years at this point, and different states, different even counties have different regulations in place how you can evict somebody. So this one that was a long-term tenant that was not moving, and the owner was very tired. They didn't want to do the updates and just wanted to get rid of the property. So that's why we came in, we were able to offer to them a price. Initially, this deal was actually a creative deal. However, after we had the conversation, the seller was like, okay, I just want to get rid of it, right? Now, one of the challenges that was occurring, because remember, we're trying to identify and solve problems, was that besides the tenant not paying, they actually had a lease option contract. And there's a first refusal in the real estate terms, so they're supposed to have first right to purchase the property. Obviously, because they weren't paying, they were essentially in breach of that, and we had to go through that process in order to basically make sure the title was clean when we acquired the property. Also, the tenant themselves, they were distressed tenant, right? And to get somebody out, our investor was prepared to basically go through the legal process and evict the tenant. They were aware that there could be some time. So what they ended up going to a tenant and offering them a compensation to leave. And that basically moved the process along a lot more efficient.
Okay. So did you end up wholesaling this deal then?
Yeah, so the way that I operate on this deal was that because the wholesaler essentially had no disposition operation, I acted as disposition. So I JV'd with the wholesaler, made sure the wholesaler still got paid on this deal, and also made sure that the wholesaler was basically taken care of, right? You know, the contracts were put in place. There was nothing that impacted the wholesaler once they signed off the rights of the property. And then we ended up selling it to our investor that actually ended up listing with us after they flipped the property.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So with that said, how was the community involved with the deal? I heard you mention, EMD lenders. Was there a TC involved? Were there other people in the sub-2 community who all got involved?
Not on this deal. So on this deal, it was just the wholesaler that was part of the sub-2 community. That's who essentially brought me the deal that was involved. We do have deals that we essentially have raised EMD, we have raised GAP, we have used transaction coordinator. On this deal, it was just not required.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and that's one of the things I love that Pace created in this community is you can insert yourself in any part of the deal. You can be a transaction coordinator, so you could be involved from when you open escrow to you close escrow. You can get into the lending, so you can lend EMD. You can do private money lending for flips. You can get in that part of real estate. You can wholesale, like you're talking about. You can buy and hold with creative finance, and so there's so many different ways to insert yourself. You can underwrite the deal, so you can get in on the front end. So you can bookmark yourself in any kind of real estate transaction by all the different means that Pace in this community has created. So I think that's very powerful, and you could probably echo the same message.
Absolutely. I mean, there is the whole aspect of what value can you provide. I think you really need to define inside of our community, we call it avatar. but
Yeah.
what I really will call is superpower. What is your superpower, right? Most people don't start this real estate journey when they're 1 year old, right? So you have to have some life, whether you're 18, you're 40, or beyond that, where you did certain kind of things, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot of times been where people, when I'm building relationships with them, they're essentially open up and telling you their story, their situation, their why, and I'm able then to see how I can do deals with them, how I can plug them in and connect them with the right people, and how I can collaborate with them where it will work best for us. I'll give you a quick example. Today I was on a call, actually. I'm building a relationship with people outside of the United States. They're based out of UK, so they're going to be definitely virtual. And throughout the conversation, we kind of pivoted, and it turns out that one of these individuals, he's actually a copywriter, right? And I was like, well, that's super cool. Like, how do we get to this part of the conversation? And now I have a resource that is copywriting. Well, in real estate, copywriting, it might not be directly into a deal, but it's still very important, especially if you're going to be running a marketing campaign, right? Or you're going to set up something like school and you're going to offer your services, right? So a lot of times you need to really make sure that you spend the time finding even the bunnies when you talk to individuals and seeing what value they can provide you, even if they're not sure yet or they're not that advanced yet in figuring it out themselves.
That is so powerful. I love that. There's so many in a transaction like this. There's so many people being helped, right? There's the people selling the property. There's people buying the property. There's people that just want. I've had people reach out to me and says, "Look, I just want to be a part of the deal just so I can learn. I don't need to be paid. I just want to learn the process." And so, not too many industries do you find people that want to have that level of involvement, or is even willing to work for free just so they can get the experience.
Yeah, I mean, sub two, that is very unusual what is happening in this industry. And I think if you're outside of sub two, people don't really understand the collaboration. Of course, there's going to be some bad apples, and those are very quickly weeded out and kicked out of sub two.
Yep.
But it starts from the top. And if you watch Pace and his videos, people that are essentially he designates as his leaders, these are people all wanting to collaborate, because at the end of the day, we all want to do best, not just for ourselves, but for others, and help each other grow and get to whatever why you have. Everybody has different whys, right? And getting back to how can I help you? When people ask that question, I always kind of turn around at them and I say, well, you have the years of experience. What value can you provide to me or even to yourself to move yourself forward? And what I will say is that a lot of it is a mindset thing, right? There's so many people that get into the real estate industry, and whether you're an agent or an investor, when things start to get rocky, like what's happening with the NAR licensing that's happening effective this month, it's going to shake up the agent industry. Unfortunately, it's going to eliminate a lot of agents. And same thing with investors. Jerry Norton talks a lot about it. There's laws right now on the books, and I am basically on the border of Pennsylvania, so I've talked about Pennsylvania. And if anybody is interested, make sure you follow Jerry Norton's channel. He's very big on that. And Pennsylvania, effective January 1st, 2025, it will require, from what I recall, and things are constantly changing, but it is 30 days that the seller is essentially has a right to have to that and cancel a contract within 30 days. Also, I believe there's a lot of disclosures that'll be added, which I do agree of it to some extent. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say at the end is that it's a mindset component. And if you're somebody who's going to be in the real estate game for a long term, you're going to go through these waves. And if you are serious about building your business, you really need to spend time in determining what your why is. And determining that's what your why is, then you're going to know what value you provide to others. Because in some way, and it has to get back to your why. Otherwise, people are not going to be interested in doing anything.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you're also right about Jerry Norton, right? He's a wealth of knowledge. I had the honor of meeting him in Puerto Rico a couple months ago in an event and watched some of his properties with him. He's an amazing human. So I was so glad to have that opportunity. So next I want to ask you, so you've given great examples of Sub 2. You've given great examples of the power of the community. You've given great examples of how you've utilized it and given back. So tell us a little bit about how Sub 2 has impacted your life.
I mean, not only did it really change the way that I do real estate, it really gave me the opportunity to travel to many different places, meet what we call influencers of the real estate space. I've shared the stage with those people. I've been in masterminds with those people. I have also basically built an operations around a Sub 2 operations. Right now, I'm pursuing a new niche. So predominantly, my niche has always been tire landlord, right? Because that's where a lot of times the fix and flip model came through, because you have landlords that have owned the property for a long time, it's fallen apart, and they just want to be done with it, right? They're not sure how to evict the tenant, or they don't want to go to the hassle of evicting the tenant. And sometimes, once again, it goes back to the mindset. There are times where they can literally go to their tenant, offer them something to get them to leave, and sometimes they would, but potentially because they already have that contentious relationship with the tenant will not believe them or listen to them. That's why you need that third-party mediator to come in that can sort of move that forward. So as it relates to Sub 2, the community itself, it really helped me build that around me and made me really strong in understanding how to purchase creative deals, how to be involved in creative deals, how to profit from creative deals, and how to also bring other people. So it's not just about myself, where other people are benefiting from it as well.
And that's huge. And I have to echo what you said about the ability to travel. I'm literally traveling as we speak. I'm on location to look at to walk a multifamily property and meet the sellers. And so I haven't, until I got into real estate, until I got in this community and realized the power of building relationships, flying out and meeting sellers and understanding where they're at and where the vision of their property was going, and then sharing my vision has just created these incredible relationships that have given me and my business partners opportunities to buy some amazing properties.
Yeah, the other thing that I'll say is that when it comes to traveling and building relationships, this is something interesting that I don't know if it happens to you, Jason, it happens to me. I sometimes will have a need, right? I'll give you an example. So I was in Utah and I was hanging out with a high-level influencer, and he goes like, well, I am getting into flex space. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know anything about flex space. We're now in the flex. Your office is in the flex space. And for anybody that does not know what's a flex space is, it's basically where you have essentially a complex. It's subdivided, and you have like a big door that opens up. Like it's pretty much a garage door, and then you have an office. So podcast studios, mechanic shops, as well as anything that can service the real estate industry, like plumbing, electrician, excellent for that, right? And also if you're in an e-commerce business, right? So he goes to me, he's like, oh, who do you know that we can, collaborate with that can essentially help us get to the next step? And I literally went on Sub 2 community and I posted about it, and I got a response. And I'm like, okay, call me. The person calls me, it comes off as a person's name on my phone. So I pick up and I'm like, oh, hey, Dennis, how's it going? I'm like, I guess we know each other, right? So it just shows you that sometimes people that you meet might not be someone that you will need help with in that immediate.
True. Yep.
However, if you stay in touch and you have, people ask me all the time, CRMs and stuff like that, Excel. Start with Excel. You know, people love to complicate things. Simplify. Excel, your phone, right? And save those contacts, right? Right now, I know the newer version of iPhones, you can actually have groups where you can actually essentially, if it's multifamily contacts, boom, You create a multifamily contact in your iPhone, and essentially that is your contact list, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to complicate things. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say when it comes to traveling and these kind of connections, you never know where your next success. I think one of the big influencers that talks about it was Andy Elliott. I met him recently, but also the name escapes me now, but I'll say Andy Elliott. He talks about it. You're 1 minute away from your next success story. Like, you don't know where it's going to happen, and a lot of times, just like with a seller that is distressed, you have to take them through a funnel, and that deal might not be today. It might be a year out, but it might be a huge commission for you, a huge assignment fee for you. Just work the process.
Yeah. And that's powerful. I can't tell you how reassuring it is to have a ton of phone numbers on my phone where I could call, and before I finish asking for help, the person on the other line says, "How can I help?" And so that's huge. So with all that said, and all your successes so far, what's on deck for you? What do you have planned next?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So one thing is I am really focusing on building out my social, right? So please follow me at Rogov Dennis is my Instagram. I'm constantly dropping new nuggets. I'm going to start doing pretty much like tours when I go to property, and I talk about, hey, look out for this, right? Like really get into it, and like live, I might shoot essentially lives. So I'm really focusing on expanding and growing into a new niche. So I want to go into pre-foreclosure, and I'm looking to build out a team. So if you're watching and you are compassionate or you have experience in pre-foreclosure, reach out to me, slip into my DMs, as they call it, and let's collaborate, because I don't have a team in that specialty yet. I'm a firm believer the riches are in the niches, right? And I have a tire landlord niche that we're doing well, where we have our retail operation, which is our standard Zillow and our traditional buyer and seller relationships. Great. We're adding a new one, relocation. I'm starting to collaborate with places. I'm also watching the trends. Mm-hmm. And me being in South Jersey, we're still affordable, right? We're seeing a big move from PA, Philadelphia area to South Jersey, as well as North Jersey and New York coming down, right? So I'm focusing on that niche as far as relocation by going and building relationships with other brokers who want to basically collaborate and help their buyers or sellers, if they're selling down here, move to South Jersey, right? Predominantly it'll be buyers. So that's what I'm focused on now. And obviously continue building a relationship with wholesalers. A lot of part of my business is helping wholesalers, helping out with EMD. If they're going to be doing their own fix and flips, helping them put together gap funding, structuring deals, right? Me being part of the sub-2 community, I don't need to know all the answers. I have a lot of relationships that I can bring to the conversation. And I mean, right now we're looking at a deal that's going to be co-living. It's not very popular in that area. It's very popular in Texas. It's very popular in other areas. It's not as popular in the East Coast, South Jersey area. However, we have plenty of properties that are 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, which will call for a co-living model, right? So I go to the sub-2 community, and through my relationship, I feel comfortable. If a wholesaler brings me that deal, I have somebody I can bring in, we can analyze and see if it's something that we want to purchase and start helping people with affordability issues.
Awesome. That is amazing. Hey, and on your social media, definitely incorporate those lives. I started doing that online. My business partner and I have done lives, and it'll boost stuff. I've found investors that way. People invested in my fund that watched my lives. And here's another fun hack for all you guys that are watching. A lot of us go to these networking events and we hold out our phone and we have them scan our Blink card. Instead, what I do is I have them scan my QR code for my Instagram page, and then I ask them to follow me. And I say, oh, by the way, I also have a Blink card if you want that as well. So instead of having them come out right out the gate and take my Blink card. I have them follow me on Instagram first, and then I present my Blink card. It's been able to grow my social media a lot quicker. So that's a fun little hack for you guys as well.
Yeah, you're a marketing machine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a sub-2 brand marketing, right? I don't have my shirt on right now, but I have a QR code that goes to my Blink, right? When I go to events, like people are seeing me, you scan it, and you're good to go. The biggest marketing that you're going to invest is in yourself.
100%. Right.
So education, community, QR codes. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So with that said, hey, what would you say to somebody who was on the fence about joining this amazing community?
I mean, really, I just don't know what you're doing otherwise. There's other communities out there, right? But what they're going to give you is a mentor once a week. They're going to give you essentially like a collaboration website. I wanted to say a Facebook group, which is very difficult to navigate through, right? Where people post not very consistently. Inside of sub-2, it's like a ticker, like literally like a ticker. There's over 15,000 plus members right now. Anything that you can ever ask or want is in the sub-2 community. Literally, any skill sets that you need, any relationships that you need is in sub-2. Yes, you're gonna have to build your muscle and build those relationships, but they're there, right?
Yep.
So if you're on the fence joining sub-2, I have to ask the question, what's preventing you? And feel free to reach out to me if you need some advice. I'm happy to answer any kind of questions. Being a veteran in sub-2.
That's huge. So you just dropped me right into my last question. Where can people connect with you? Sounds like Instagram's the best way.
Instagram is the best way. We also have a Facebook group. It's like this, creative financing, but it's Delaware Valley. But if you go to my Instagram, there's a link there, and it takes you to it. And we have about 2,500 group members there. There's a lot of conversations. Sometimes I post sub-2 deals that I love to JV with, where I can dispo. I go on once a week at least and give advice or input what's going on in the market. The reality is, if you're not somebody that is staying on top of regulation, staying on top of what's going on in the real estate industry, you will be replaced very soon. So make sure that you plug in on this free community. Definitely consider joining sub-2. I think it'll be the best investment that you'll ever make, because you're going to be making an investment, not really in the community, but in yourself.
Yep.
And also, check out my Instagram, because like I said, I am someone that is staying on top of the industry updates, and we're going through some rough waters right now for agents in August and in January for PA people. If you're wholesaling PA, or even if you're basically a real estate agent in PA, you're gonna have some major changes as well. And I think it's gonna happen across the country. You got Carolina, South Carolina. There's, I think I heard recently, Illinois and other states. The goal about all of this is really to make sure that you don't take advantage of the seller, right? And the reality is, I think that it's not a bad thing, right? Because it will require everybody to do better underwriting, right? And
Sure.
Ultimately, what's going to come is that you're going to need to buy the deal, right? Buy the deal. And I know it scares a lot of people, but if you underwrite correctly, you basically build relationships or reach out to me for private money lending, there's nothing to fear, because even if something that you buy, you can do what's called wholesaling and potentially make even more money once you resell it. Obviously, we'll see how the regulations come down in PA, but that's what it seems like it's gearing towards to, or double close.
Dennis, you're amazing, and you're doing incredible things. It was an absolute honor to be able to speak with you. You bring a ton of value, and I know you're going to continue to bring value. So thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
Wow, Dennis. My goodness, you're like a fountain of information.
I know, isn't he? I could go for another hour at least.
Man, in fact, Dennis, you're so good that and I'm the moderator. Okay, so I'm gonna take full responsibility of this. Watch this. So as this is going on, you're being asked questions, you're answering the questions, and then the wrong button was pushed, and only face we saw was Jason after he asked the questions. But of course, you're still dropping jewels.
Yeah.
And our wonderful Pamela Meadows was like, I'm sorry, but we cannot see Dennis. And so I was like, oh my God, let me fix that. So yes, Pamela, I'm so sorry about that. Dennis, thank you so much for all of the valuable information, man. By the way, let me ask you, how long have you been in the creative finance space? It just went black there for a second.
Yeah, I don't know if we lost him or not. I thought he said he joined Sub 2 in 2020.
I thought that's what he said as well.
Yeah, he had been in real estate like in the early 2000s, got out right before the crash of 07, and then came back in and joined our community in 2020. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was so like I normally, and I say this all the time, I take notes. Lately, yesterday I took a lot of notes as well. But today, my gosh, like he's just so much information. I remember he and I did a Power Up Zoom together. I moderated and he just did his thing, and it was so valuable. Dennis, can we hear you say something, Dennis?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're
Perfect.
back.
You're beautiful. Thank you for coming back, Dennis.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, Derek was just asking for your real estate background. I just did a recap and said I said you were in real estate until 2007. You predicted the crash. Got it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't predict the crash.
And then you
I predict the crash.
and then you came back in, joined the creative finance group in 2020. So feel free to fill anything else in.
Yeah, 2021 actually, Derek. So I joined January of 2021. Pace, I believe, opened up Sub 2 in 2020 of summer. I joined 6 months later.
Wow. And when you started, when did you get your first deal? After you started, like when did you get your first deal?
So we basically started to do creative like literally by March, and we had deals under contract by April and so forth after that.
Really?
Yeah.
I asked because at Squad Up Summit, of course, I spoke to 1,000 people, literally. And I did more listening than anything. And what I wanted to know was, for those who sign up under Sub 2, they become Sub 2 students. You know, for me, I wonder how fast people can get their deals done. But it sounds like you didn't think about it. You just jumped in and just took off.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is that I was laser focused. That's why I tell people is that you need to be laser focused, right? The challenge, I think, what happens is in the real estate space is that there's so many different ways to make money. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways to lose money too, right?
Right.
And everybody, what I see, in my opinion, from a wholesaler standpoint, people are really not open to. And it's the wholesalers I came across. Maybe, I can't speak for the whole country.
Right.
They don't want to put money down, right? They don't want to close on the deal, right? So they want to have as least of a risk in getting into a deal as possible. And that's what I was telling Jason and our viewers here is that's what these regulations are starting to change because they want you to have more skin in the game. It's no different than if you go and flip a property.
Okay.
If you go flip a property and you need a hard money lender and it's your first time, they're going to tell you, go find somebody that's experienced, or you have to put down 30% of entry fee for us to lend you on acquisition and repairs, right? They want you to have skin in the game. And I think the biggest challenge has been that people got spoiled is that they're able to basically find a deal, get on a contract, and that's it. They're basically able to sell to anyone because the market is so hot, and the investor doesn't even care that they don't provide EMD, and they just put their EMD down if they have to, and it's a very quick process. But with these regulations, what's happening is going to slow things down because it's going to get to a point, in my opinion, either you're going to have to do double close, might even have to be also hotel the property, which means take possession of the property and then resell it after maybe you change the carpet or you do some painting or something like that, right? I see that actually being potential larger assignment fees for investors. That is a true investor, I have deals sometimes that are being sold, they're being daisy chained because people just go on there and they're like, oh, okay, I can just go post on Facebook and say I have this deal and put 5,000 on top or put 10,000 on top, right? And sometimes it works. I mean, back in 2020, 2021, we had situations where people were able to daisy chain 4 times and still be able to sell to the investor. He wasn't happy about it, but he still bought it because he still made money on it.
Right. Of course he did.
Because every time you add like 10,000, 5,000, 20, like every time you daisy chain, you kind of put your fee on it, and most people put 5,000. So for me, I got into sub 2 because I had a very specific need that needed to be solved. I was getting beat out when I would go and have my VAs talk to people when I would tell them, hey, I want to buy a property at 60% of the RV minus repairs. I got a lot of hangups, right? Like people didn't want that. And by having a creative conversation, it moved the needle for certain people.
Okay. So if someone is, let's say, we have a gentleman in the chat. Let me pull this. He has, I don't know if it's a question, but he says, I'm as green to this sub 2 group as you can get. I'm having to jump in as a wholesaler and look for guidance on most everything. What should someone like Patrick do, in your opinion?
Go to a local RIA and find someone that is experienced. The reality is, a lot of people are cold calling. A lot of people are, well, the reality is the most simplest way to get a deal, if you have the aptitude, is to go door knock. And it's a very simple script. You constantly want to ping it to somebody else. Hey, I don't know anything about real estate, but I know somebody who was in the situation that you were in a couple of years ago. Would you mind if I give you, and now he has helped many people, would you mind me giving him your number so you guys can have a conversation, see if they can help you? Simple as that, right? Simple script.
Okay. Makes sense.
Patrick can do,
Okay.
But if he's calling, that percentage is going to be so much smaller. We're looking at, on average, and once again, I can only speak for my market, it was 10,000 calls per deal.
Wow. 10,000 calls.
10,000 calls per deal.
That's tenacity right there.
And the reality is, right, like, I have had people that would go and make dials and get a deal. So it's not just a numbers game, it's a luck game, right? It can happen. It can literally happen,
Right. Wow, 10,000, Jesus.
And the reality is, when it comes down to a marketing technique, you have to understand that marketing takes time to work. And I think it also ties to the current state. Like, for example, in 2020, what was the best marketing technique? Does anybody know?
I have no clue.
No, you got me.
I'm a social media nerd, so I would say social media, but I don't know.
What happened in 2020? What was everyone?
Oh yeah, that was
COVID. COVID, right?
That was the year we didn't want to talk about.
So the number one technique in 2020 was direct mail. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. Everybody was home.
Yeah.
Everybody was home. Yeah.
Right now, that's not the case, right? Right now, in my opinion, I think with the AI coming out, and well, AI has come out, but AI getting more and more advanced,
right.
I think that there's going to be a lot more campaigns done by social media, essentially putting it in your face. Because people are not picking up their phones anymore. They're not even looking at their text messages. There's all these laws and regulation, right? It is tough. So, Patrick, if you're somebody that's thinking you're going to start making calls, I think that's practice for you, and kudos to you for doing that. But going and finding somebody that is an expert in your market and is already doing deals and saying, hey, what value can I provide you? I can go and take pictures of properties. Hey, I can potentially go find you capital to, well, probably not first time. Take pictures. I can, if you have some construction experience, maybe help you out, do some renovation. What can I do to help you, right? Very simple things, especially if you're brand new in this space, will go a long way. And once again, as I told Jason, nobody is on this channel is 1 year old. Everybody had some kind of life, some kind of skill, there's so many people in our market right now. You know what they're looking for? Social media. People.
Yeah.
So if you know how to do videos, if you know how to edit video, oh my God, you can go up to any investor. What do you mean? And yes.
So speaking of marketing, guys, I've got a hard stop because I'm going to go build a relationship with the seller and have dinner with them.
Oh,
But
awesome.
I mean, you guys should definitely keep this conversation going. This is amazing. Dennis has a wealth of knowledge, and if you want someone who knows social media in and out, Derek is your man. Trust me. So I've got to drop. I love all
Oh,
you
no
guys.
worries.
Appreciate you guys that tuned in. But again, I'm going to go build relationships and buy more real estate, just like you guys are doing.
Do your thing, Jason. Always a pleasure,
Awesome
brother.
talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate you all,
brother.
guys.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Have a good one, Jason.
Bye, guys.
See you. So yeah, Dennis, man, that's just so fascinating to hear your story and everything. I really, it's almost like, it's funny. So when we did the Power Up Zoom, that was a lot of information. That was like, and it was so much information that I couldn't keep up with it from a notes taking standpoint. But today it was like, this is shorter, but it seems like it's just as much. It's so like, man, I know your team must be just like singing their praises that they work with you. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the team that I work with. I'm thinking about launching my own podcast. I think that there might be an opportunity. It's just so busy, but I think I'm going to be doing that shortly here as well. So if everybody here signs up to follow me on my IG, I'm going to be dropping when that's going to be happening. We also have local events, so we're going to be doing one in September. And either it's going to be in Philadelphia or South Jersey area. Once again, we'll be posting on the IG.
Beautiful, beautiful. And let me ask you before I let you go, how I think the word is aggressive. How aggressive have you been, Dennis, with your own building out of your social medias to, gain exposure and whatnot? How have you taken advantage of that?
Yeah, I have not been very aggressive because, I run a business and obviously everything else that I do, right? What I will say is that there's still days, and I have friends that are brand people. That's what they do, is they work with other people to do branding. Okay. Is what to post, right? Like, because I have to get to a certain point where I have to understand that everything that I post, that it might be basic knowledge to me, it might be nuggets to somebody else that's going to move the needle for that person.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm going to really start focusing. I don't really see many people posting about going out and doing tours on the property, right? Like going out to a property and even before you get it under contract and be like, okay, cool. So now we're going to get into a place where you as a wholesaler are going to need to really understand repairs, right? All right, well, what do you need to look for? What do you need to make sure that you account for, right? Like, what do you need to make sure that you are noticing, right? Like mold or maybe actually, I'll tell you a funny story.
Please.
So we had a situation where because the homes in our area are older, so they used to have underground oil tankers.
Okay.
And in order to make sure that there's no underground oil tanker, like when we came onto a property, we only saw like that there was potential that was something underground. So there's actually a service out there where what they do is they come out and they scan the surface of where it was, and it's basically like a metal detector. And that's all they do is they go like boop, and it's called scanning something, but it's scanning for underground tankers, right? A lot of times people lose if there's a septic. If there's a septic and you're getting that deal under contract, be careful, because the reality is this: not only the septic can be very expensive to replace, but it could also be the area around it will need to be treated, right? And that will be a cost. And an experienced investor is going to look at it and say like, oh no, it's not for me, but they're not going to tell you why, right? And that's really what I want to start doing as far as social media, is being a lot more transparent and showing people out there. That way it will provide others value.
Absolutely. That would be beautiful, Dennis, because you're very, whoa. That was scary. No, no, it's okay. By the way, what kind of dog?
It's a Labradoodle. It's a King Poodle.
Oh my God, it sounds like a Rottweiler.
No, it's a King Poodle. And we're probably got a rabbit outside or something like that. There's a bunny outside.
That'll do it. That'll do it. But no, when I listen to you speak and talk about your deals and the success that you're having, it's compelling. And it's funny. I watch a lot of real estate. Let's call them YouTube videos, but they're not according to what you're saying. I'll sometimes watch something where a lovely real estate agent is showing you a home, and I love looking at model homes, and so I watch that. But that's extremely surface, Dennis. What you're talking about, I would love to see the videos where a real estate investor wants to potentially buy a property, but why wouldn't they buy it? You know, where are the moles? What's wrong with the baseboards? You know, and what's a property that you would invest in, right? And what's the process step by step by step? Yeah, we were having a social media, let's call it a meeting, office hours yesterday, and it went very well. And we were talking about some of the strategies used in social media. So I'll shoot you over some information, Dennis, as to what your videos can, you know, like some important content pillars. Yes, absolutely. I'll shoot it over to you. And we can
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think I'm still, you know, and I want to be transparent here with everybody. Just like if you're a wholesaler, like you're kind of like in that paralysis analysis stage. That's me with social media, right? Because I am a perfectionist, and I sometimes just, you know, I want to put a content that I'm going to go like, damn, this content is Peace Morby quality. It's Jamil Damji quality. It is. But the reality is, as I talk to more and more people
Sure.
really care about that. They care about the smaller nuggets. And we're getting to a point where attention span is going down more and more.
Very small.
30 to 60 seconds, I have to, you know, tell the story to make sure that that's appealing to who's watching. Because the reality is, I want to help as many people get started in this industry. You can achieve anything that you want to achieve once you determine your why, and you make sure that you have a plan to go forward. I'm going to finish up with this, Derek, if I can.
Please, please.
Yes, right. So I was talking to a mentor of mine, and he was talking about yes, right? And yes has essentially, you can break it down into 3 different things. I'm trying to remember. So S is for strategy. I remember that last one. E for enthusiasm, and Y, I can't remember what Y is for, but trying to remember. I think it was for, no, I can't remember. But E is for enthusiasm, S is for strategy. So if you have enthusiasm and you have a strategy, you will succeed. I can't remember what the Y is for.
Oh man, I'm writing this down, Dennis. I want that Y, brother. So strategy is the S.
Follow me. Follow my IG. I'll definitely talk about it.
Got you. Okay, I'm following your IG. Got you. Yes, this is good. This is good. It reminds me of something I always talk about in the social media realm of when you're creating content. People love to see teeth. I notice with you, Dennis, it's not that it's hard, but you naturally smile. Like you're looking at me now, but you're smiling, even though I don't see your teeth. You're smiling, right? That goes a long way. But yes, I don't want to keep you as well. I'll say this to those in the chat. If you want to be on here and give us your story and talk about your deals, all the good and the bad, we want to hear all of it. And I'm going to share with you, and of course, many of you know where I'm going here. I want to share with you an email where we want you to send your emails. And that is at Taya at pacemurby.com. Please send us your emails to Taya at pacemurby.com. Taya is brilliant. She's fantastic. And many of you guys don't know this, but Taya is actually Jay Jarvis's sister. True story. Oh. Yeah. I tell people, they're like, no way, because Jay Jarvis is an ultra rock star. She's amazing, right? Taya is just as much as a superhero as her sister. Taya is lovely. She's wonderful. So please reach out to her. We would love to have more guests on here. Dennis, it has been my pleasure.
I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back, Derek, and maybe in a couple of months.
Yes.
If I can help out the community, feel free to reach out. I'm here to help.
Thank you so much, Dennis. We appreciate you, brother. You have a good one, man. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.